Thank you, Tim. Appreciate your support. Now I'm going to go through the parish preparation plans that we have. That's too soon. That's your list of names, Marty. Okay. This will start off that we usually do every year with the municipalities and the parish government. Declarations of emergencies can be declared by the parish president, the mayors, tribal chief, and the governor or the president. That also goes along with curfews in each of your jurisdictions. Those can be made by the mayors or the parish president. Emergency operations centers, we have one here and one at the courthouse in Franklin. We'll be staged and operate out of those locations. Last year, Francine, we worked out of this building here because it was most of the efforts were on this side. The emergency meetings we have with the public officials, support staff, and we get briefed on the phone by the weather service. And Doug Kramer usually does that portion. And we make decisions after those meetings as to what plans we're going to take and what actions about evacuations and everything. For all the municipalities and homeowners and everything, we all have to do our share of pre-storm checks. Check and maintain your generators. Make sure that you have a good place to put your home generators so that none of the fumes go into the house. Many years we've had people die of carbon monoxide poisoning due to this fact alone. And that's one thing that can really be avoided. Police and fire, you see generators running outside of a house and the windows are open, that's wrong, you know. Stop and go check and make sure. Prepare yourself and your families and have them ready to be evacuated if need be. This is for first responders to know. Hospital workers, everybody that has to stay behind. Make sure your families are taken care of. Those in the low-lying areas should leave early because they might get cut off by water coming up, trees blown down, or whatever. You know, in some places, like by yourself, we have to close off the end of Highway 317 before you get to the coastline to protect the water, incoming water. So those need to be done preparation before the storms. Okay, this here is for emergency management training program that's provided by GOSEP on the internet, and it's a course that any public official can take. It'll give you ideas and procedures and methods of how we can operate for government services. It's just a little short introduction, but you can go to the GOSEP webpage and find that. Of course, local governments, pre-storm actions. This is another instance of it. We've all taken actions on sandbags. We always do that. But we need to let the public know where these sandbag locations are going to be. So if you get them to us, post them in your Facebook, we'll post them on our Facebook. And then news agencies will usually call in and we'll get the information from them. Take stock of what you have on hand now. If you need any emergency supplies to be stocked up, get with me or somebody might have generators that require special equipment, fuel oil or oil, get those on hand before the storms come in. Generators, I talked about that. We have forms for GOSEP. If you need a replacement generator, we have to know what kind, what size, what voltage, what phase and everything. We have forms. Shannon has the forms on the table up there. You should have one of these forms made out for every generator that you have in your water district, your pump stations, or whatever, ahead of time. Fill out these forms so you don't have to, at the last minute, request a generator and don't have a form to fill it out. You should have these filled out already. a fuel replenishment for your generators. Those are fuel forms that GOSEP needs to know where to deliver fuel for those generators that they put in place.
Does that need to be submitted by the parish, or can they do it?
I'll submit those.
You submit
You get it to me, and I'll submit it to GOSEP on a request form that we do. But you have to know, when you call, I gotta have that form. If I don't have the form, it's a no-go. Everybody needs to know that. We did a few of them last year for Francine. We did get the equipment in. But we have to do all this paperwork ahead of time. The yellow section that's highlighted there is for use in reimbursement costs to FEMA. If you go and install floodgates or special purpose rock barrier to stop water coming in, any pre-storm actions that you take pictures of it, document it, get the invoices, and have one person at your agency assigned to collect all those invoices and all those expenses so that they can turn them in later in a reimbursement form to FEMA. Does anybody have a question on that? I think that's pretty simple.
You know, Marty brought up that issue about with pre and post photos. Is there an effort that can be thought about of trying to get a collection of pre-hurricane season photos and everything?
Right.
I'm sorry, I might have jumped ahead.
No, I got it further down the line. But surge protections, projections, rather. We have the coastline that we look at. We get with Jonathan at the Weather Service, and he gives us ideas on the type of amount of water, when it's coming, where it's going to come from, the direction, the wind speed, and all that. We take all that into account. We give it the drainage district, the levee district, and we let them know what's going on so they can take actions about closing certain gates and all of that. Like by Usal Road, if we're going to get a surge coming in that way, we have to take action a couple of days ahead and put a rock barrier and everything to close that off. This is our famous gauge over at Sycamore Point. Why do you see a picture of it? All right, that gauge is 2 feet below level right now from the bottom, so you got to add 2 feet to all the elevations. But at the bottom, you think that's water, but that's really mud. That's how thick the mud is down there at Sycamore Point when it comes in. So it's really a mess. The whole entire road gets filled up with mud. You got a game plan, okay? We have our fire department representatives here. Franklin and Morgan City, we have oxygen exchange program. They have oxygen bottles that they can exchange with people that need oxygen. We've had that in place for about a couple of years now, and it works great, right, John?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I think they came in and redid some regulators for Franklin and all that. So, health department is on top of that. Power outages, what we recommend to people that's on CO2 concentrators or whatever is to buy one of those little portable power packs. Have that on hand at your house for those purposes. Because that way, if the power goes out, you got that generator, amplifier box that can work from that. Fuel, water supply, food and water supplies, prescriptions, emergency funds. We all have to get that ahead of time. Tell everyone you plan. If, for example, this plan of a family network or whatever, you call in Susan up in Shreveport, and all your family has her phone numbers. And then every family member that leaves a different route or whatever, they call into her, give her updates, and then anybody who wants to talk to them, if they lose contact, you lose cell signal, they'll go up to a landline and call or whatever. But everybody notifies that person and keeps track of everybody. Medical needs, we got that already. Prescriptions, I'm gonna get into the paperwork and everything. Evacuation routes. The cars piled up there, yeah. Highway 90 we talked about, following. Here, Iberia has road construction going on. There's more planned in the future. Lafayette has the road construction going on in Broussard. The sooner you leave, the better. Make sure you got fuel for your car ahead of time. And if you get to a spot where you gotta sit idle for a while, make sure you get filled up before you get to those bad spots. Water, snacks, medicine, phone chargers for the drive. A lot of people think you're gonna get off the road and get back in. That's not gonna happen. You're gonna be bogged in traffic. It's gonna happen, no matter what. But you have to be patient. Usually LA 511, LAR for traffic information before you leave. The first responders are gonna take charge to make sure that if there's any breakdowns on these roads, single lane traffic, the priority is to clear the roads and get the cars moving, besides your medical needs, but just take the vehicles off the road, keep the traffic moving as soon as you can. Okay. Now the reason why you want to leave early is you want to wait till the last minute. The last minute doesn't work because you're going to get bogged in traffic and the storm's coming, so you're going to be sitting there in the storm before you even get to where you want to go. The winds will pick up and it's going to block your path where you want to go. Okay, this is what it looks like on Highway 90 in some portions. Now you got to remember, you're not the only ones from this parish that's going to be on the road. You're going to have the food consumption and everybody else coming this way, depending on the direction of the storm. They're going to be getting on the roads before you do. That could be all the parish on the road. Shelters. We don't have a shelter of last resort, but we do have a shelter scheduled for the parish in Alexandria. And we have two pickup points that we use in St. Mary. One is the Martin City Junior High, the other one's Franklin High in Franklin. Bus transportation is provided by the school board. Thank you, ma'am. And they will assist us in getting two schools open, registering people, and getting people on buses. At that time, when we do that, fire, police will need to help us loading people, traffic direction, and everything else at those two locations. Nursing homes and homebound persons will be taken care of first priority. Nursing homes, they all have plans for buses and everything. They'll just need assistance from fire departments and local agencies to assist in loading the patients. Also, Acadian Ambulance will assist in those that are not able to travel by a bus, correct? This is our famous shelter picture. Don't expect privacy. All right. Okay, this is post-storm, but pre-storm, like I was talking about, is we have to take pictures to know what you have on hand ahead of time. Okay, that's very important. Keep that in files. One person in the office keeps all those records. Okay, you got serial numbers, pictures of your items, whatever. Your computers, your networks, everything you have to see about. But make an initial assessment for infrastructure. When I say infrastructure, this means your fire stations are still intact, police station, your government buildings, your water plants are still good, your sewer plants are still good, power company's good, the roadways are open. All of that is called infrastructure, right? Now what's the other thing is infrastructure? Is your hospitals, your nursing homes, your schools, all of that needs to be taken into account. You should have before and after pictures of everything. And you should have records, all your computer records, your storage for computers, your servers, your IT department should be taking stuff off-site, or you transmit it off-site, one or the other, so that you have your records intact. You can lose a laptop or things like that, but not the information that's stored from the school. Okay, we need all of that information to know when it's okay for the evacuees to come back home. And we'll put it on the news networks. If there's a problem that the people can't come back home, we'll put that out. They can listen to the news and our Facebook pages. Fire departments, police departments, you can take pictures of the schools, infrastructure, whatever, send that back to us at the EOC, and we can publish that to GOSEP so that we can keep track at the state level of what's damaged, and where they need to apply the most resources to. Like take pictures of the damage. I was telling you, just don't take a picture of a little tree on the road. Where is it? So that we can let our public works know. Okay, this here is our damagela.gov with the caption that you can take with your phone. A lot of people use this for Francine over on this end and Franklin. Everybody had this. When they went through the lines, we told them about the little cards. We gave out a paper with this on it, telling them to report their damage. When you get to the house, they take a picture of the damage and then upload it onto this. This here is what it looks like, what it's going to spit out at the GOSEP state level. FEMA can see this. With all the numbers, 731 reports we had reported for Francine. That's from homeowners, police, fire, whatever. They reported all of this. And when they get this, FEMA and GOSEP sits down in the office at Baton Rouge. They look at each one of these dots and they make a tally to determine the amount of damage that's been done or whatever. They can even get down to where you can see the photographs that's put in. It gives a description the homeowner puts in about the damage. FEMA and GOSEP looks at that, and they can make right away that we can be declared in an emergency situation, okay? So that they don't have to come and do survey checks and all of this. It's already done in this system. This has been used and proven to work well. So we got a heads up on our FEMA coming in to assist us. Part of dispensing, distribution from the National Guard that they did over here for Francine. We make the call, we call it in, we organize the location. One's in Morgan City at the auditorium, and the other one's in Franklin on Hapey Street by the old hospital. Those are the two locations that's in GOSEP where the National Guard can set up and put pods at. We only use one pod for Francine because most of the damage is on this end. But that did not stop people coming from the other end or any location from home they came to get supplies, okay? It's not restricted to anybody. We close the pods when the power comes back on, when the water and infrastructure is back on, when the grocery stores are open, when the gas stations are open. There's no need for a pod after that, because everybody's, all stores and everything is open. The hospital's open. We had so many other relief agencies that came in. Samaritan Purge, Red Cross, a whole bunch of them. Janet got in touch with them, made a few phone calls, and word spread. We incorporated those facilities within our pods at the Morgan City location. And it worked really well. This is a picture of it. The National Guard had it all lined up. They got plans and procedures lined up, already written out. If you need this pod, this is what comes with it. This is how many trucks come. This is how many soldiers you need. The little pop-up tents. They organize all of that, and all of that comes in. Takes a few hours to set up overnight and get it done. And it really, really worked well. I think Chief Morgan City, they helped with traffic and all of that, and it's really good. Okay, post-storm continue. This is what people are at their shelters looking at, or when they evacuated. They see all this. You gotta have all this in place before you come back home. What's the use of coming home if you have nothing? No place to sleep, no electricity, nothing. So you have to wait it out. Nursing homes, they have to make sure that they have their structures back up and safe. They have to have all the utilities working, the sewer and everything else. And they have to, if they had lost electricity or something like that during a storm, they have to get certified by the fire department, by the fire marshal's office to go back in. And it'll be the mayor or the parish president to authorize everybody to come back. Okay, so any questions from the Emergency Preparedness Center? Yes, Ms. Emmett.
Me, so I just thought about something as you were going over evacuation routes and so on. And you know, social media, there's been conversation back and forth on the 182 bridge and how it should just be gone. How critical is that bridge, in your opinion, when it comes to evacuation time?
Well, we can remember when the big bridge was out, and well, yeah, it was a little one, so it goes back and forth. It is critical for local traffic to go back and forth to do things and let the main flow of traffic from the rest of the people that go through. But you can still wind up on the same road once you get across if you're traveling.
But it is another
yeah.
opportunity to get across the river.
It's very important for us to
Okay.
get that back up and running. And I don't know what the time schedule is. Does anybody know?
On
June of this year? That'd be nice. I know with the high water situation, we had to shut it down for a while to take the center scaffolds out. We worked with the Coast Guard on that. So who's next on the list?
Hey, Jimmy.
Yes.
I contacted the DOTE a few weeks ago, and they were telling me November. So hopefully you got better news than I did. Also, a question about
Yes.
the oxygen tanks at the fire
Yes.
stations. Is that for public to know about, to get, or just for first responders?
No, that's for the public
Okay.
to make an exchange.
Okay.
Once the storm comes and they're stuck at home, they're running out of oxygen. That's
Sure.
an emergency exchange that
That's
they
what I
can
thought.
do.
Okay.
That's all it's for.
Just wanted to
If you
clarify.
got, what really needs to be done, if the storm is coming, that person contacts their vendor, we got a storm coming, so leave me these extra bottles
Sure.
before the storm comes.
Right.
That's what should be done.
Sure.
But if they do run out or get low, then they give fire station and just exchange the bottles.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That's what that's for.
Okay.
And it's worked really well. I think we had over 70 bottles that were exchanged.
Okay.
And that's a critical need.
Sure.
So that the health department really did good on that.
It's going to happen automatically then, before an event.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We have them already in stock at the fire station. We're ready to go. Sam Jones, our parish president, is here. He's gonna come up and make a few remarks.
I know it doesn't seem like it's possible, but my first storm was in 1957, where we lost 500 people in that area to death. It was one of the worst ever. And what I learned from that, I was 5 years old. My grandfather brought me out to the railroad track where the water comes over. There were snakes and every other kind of animal swimming in and all of that, and it left a mark on me. One piece of advice I can give everybody, and I've been through Andrew, I've been through Hilda. I rode in a helicopter with Kathleen Blanco doing the one in New Orleans. We can never overdo our plans to evacuate. And if you do, there's a chance you'll lose someone. I'm proud to say that we never have lost someone in our area that I can recall, because we overdid evacuation. We did it early, we did it strong, we were very insistent for people to get out, because you know what, you can come back in 2 days and you might have spent an extra $1,000, but you came back a lot. And that's the advice that I give a lot of decision makers here, and I think we all need to follow that and do our best. I want to thank y'all for coming. Jimmy, you can have the thing back.
Hey, Mike, ready?
Are you gonna have any emergency responder permits or flag or placards for crews to need to get entry into the area, or is just let you know we're coming in?
No, for y'all, it's good. You got your work uniform, your ID.
Yeah, we
good.
got all
Yeah.
that.
I did want to mention that we're applying to the federal government for $50 million to pay the levee the rest of the way out. That would give us the exit that we really need.
Yeah.
Right now, as you said, we're down to one road sometimes, and it goes on for days. I remember coming back from, I was out of town coming back from the hurricane in New Orleans, and it looked like the Third Army had come through. You know, it was a long thing. It went on until 4 o'clock in the morning before people got out, but they, you know, for the most part got out, except those that didn't have the capacity to do it.
Are you gonna have a presence in Franklin and here in
Yeah.
terms of staying?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, thank you, sir. Now we're gonna have Mike Ricardo with the levee district for St. Mary's, gonna give us a heads up. And also, if you can, speak about the flood situation.
Yes. Can y'all hear me?
Close to the mic.
Really close to it.
Yeah, Mike.
Mike.
Good morning, my name is Mike Ricardo with St. Mary Levee District. I'm gonna do things a little bit different this year. I'm gonna go through our structures, but not focus so much on that. I wanna kinda give an outline of what we do pre-storm, post-storm, things like that. I have control of this, Victoria? Yep, there we go. So you'll see here, this is our district map. One of the kind of special things about St. Mary is the fact that probably 90% of our levees are actually riverine levees and not storm surge levees. The good thing is we can use them for both. You can see everything here. We currently have almost a complete loop around Morgan City. Berwick and Patterson have a complete loop. We have closed the loop from the Wax Lake outlet to the Sherrington Canal. So there's a loop that protects this entire area. Then you got the Bayou Sally area, and we are currently, these levees don't currently exist. We're working on plans for all of those, and those would strictly be, I guess you could say strictly storm surge, but they could provide benefit for riverine as well.
It's not working.
Oh, there we go, but too far. Did I miss something? What's before that? It's probably a jump. Miss Shane.
Are we working against
That's the
one
beginning.
another?
Hang on, don't do anything. Let's see.
Okay,
Okay, that's where we were.
okay.
Why does it stop working?
Mm.
Okay, there we go. Just one thing real quick, and I guess this kind of goes along with the current flooding. This is the map of the United States. Obviously, you see the pink areas, which is the vast majority of the United States. And the one thing I want to keep driving home is that 30% of that, plus all of the Red River, comes through Morgan City and Patterson, for that matter. So we're very important to the nation, and we need to keep talking about that.
to make sure they don't forget about us. So starting on the west end, I'll start with the Bayou Teche flood control structure. This is on the Sherrington Canal. You can see Sherrington Canal runs this way. This is the actual Bayou Teche going east-west, and this structure protects from Sherrington Canal going east to the Wax Lake outlet, so the Franklin area, Centerville. And then added to this over the in the past 2 years is the Yoakley extension. So previous, you had the Yoakley levee, the federal riverine levee that ended at Industrial Road in Franklin. And this is what would happen. This is a picture from Hurricane Barry, and I want you to remember this picture because it's going to come up again here in a little bit. But this was happening every couple of years. We have since built this infrastructure inside of these shipyards. This is Metal Shark here, and then Gulf Craft on the other side. And this is the system that goes in place. We have contractors that come in and install these. It takes about 12 hours probably to install them fully. It's a removable flood wall. And they basically stand these uprights. These uprights are bolted into a slab foundation that has sheet pile, pipe pile, all kinds of stuff holding it in place. They go in and set these in place and close off that gap to prevent the water you saw in the previous picture. We had been flood fighting this for a number of years. It was actually old HESCOs that were in place from the 2011 flood. We kept utilizing that and closing the gaps off. It was typically in the middle of the night during the storms, and we learned lessons real quick, and we pushed forward to get this project completed. So that's what the flood wall looks like. It goes through Metal Shark and Gulf Craft. So that's that loop that we closed off all the way to Bayou Teche. And then you come into the city of Franklin. You got the Franklin Canal floodgate and pump structure or pump station. There's a floodgate, it closes off, and they were able to maintain the water levels on the inside with the pump station. That's just looking north. Hanson Canal is the only other inlet to Bayou Teche from the south end. So it's important to get this closed off as well. Then the Yellow Bayou closure and pump station. This is looking northward. This canal actually goes all the way near the central office in Centerville. So it prevents the flooding in those neighborhoods and the central office area. And then the Morgan City backwater protection. Everything here that you see is in place except for the lakefront. And then this tiny connection here, which means that currently this railroad track is used as the levee system for the interior of Morgan City. Just recently we installed a plug at LA 70, so it closes off the LA 70 canal, and in fact that did save probably the Brownell Homes area as well as some of the interior of Morgan City during Francine, because we did see higher water levels. And then the Bayou Chene floodgate is not classified as a storm surge barrier, but it can be used in the I'll call it the right storm. For Francine, all indications showed that Francine was going to basically come up Highway 317. In that event, we need to close this structure because it keeps the water out of the Lake Verret Basin, Lake Palourde, those areas. And of course, Francine kind of skirted to the south and the east of us and changed things up a little bit, but we were able to deal with them and get rid of the water as we needed to. This is a picture from last week. The barge is currently closed due to a high river, and it's very obvious here what's river water and what's not river water. You can see the south side of the structure, the muddy river water being blocked from going into Lake Palourde, into Terrebonne and northward.
What's the head between the two sides right
Currently, it's running around a foot.
And decisions to close is entirely within the levee district?
No, we have an operating criteria that went along with our permit, and it says 7 feet on the Morgan City gauge. So if we're anticipating hitting 7 or going past that, we do a closure. So that's what triggered this closure. And the earlier we can keep those levels out of the upper basin, the better.
So,
Go ahead.
quick clarification, so you don't have to get, so you got a permit from the Corps?
Correct.
Yes.
Correct, but we do have discussions with Coast Guard, the Corps, the port. You know, we go through all of those things, the state, CPRA, before we make the decision to close, and we explain to them our reasoning, and that's what triggers it.
What's your design maximum head in terms of the two levels?
The top of the floodgate is a +10,
Okay.
so we can keep it out up to there. In Francine, we did have a reverse head situation, because again, it went to the south and east of us, drew the water out of this area, and then dumped a decent amount of rain in the basin. And pretty quickly figured out how we could get rid of that water, and it was actually opening the Bayou Bluff locks. Thanks, LaDon.
Did the reverse head have problems on the structure?
No, it did not. And that's the thing about this structure. This isn't a closed system like you have in Terrebonne. So the water has places to go. And we're in the process currently of doing some modeling to see what is our worst case scenario. So just to make sure that we don't put the structure at risk. Any other questions? So to get into kind of how we operate and what goes through, what our processes are to make decisions on storm surges, strictly storm surge. So many years ago, it was probably 10 years ago, LSU started working on this coastal emergency risk assessment tool. And with it, they discussed with us, or we discussed with them, the necessity of having our levee elevations in this modeling. And the reason being is National Hurricane Center, National Weather Service puts out information, but do not put into account our levee systems. So they will issue warnings, for instance, and don't take this as a bad thing from Weather Service, but they will issue warnings that will show like areas of Franklin inundated with storm surge. But those models are not taking into account the levee systems that are put into place. So,
We'll say,
go ahead.
when we met, now we have y'all's levies, we're doing better at it, so.
Good. We've been talking to them about it, and I think it had a lot to do with rules and things like that didn't allow them to put them in. But we've been working with Sarah and the people up there, making sure that they have up-to-date information on our levee system every year. If there's updates that need to be made, we send them to them with the correct elevations. The other great thing about this is a couple of things, obviously, but you can see down here in the Bayou Sally area how that is in blue. You can see the levee system going around it.
Yeah.
That tells us that, hey, the water's going to get in there. And we can almost pinpoint where that water's going to come in and make a decision to flood fight it, evacuate it, whatever it needs to be. The next thing is, up here, that picture that I told you about, you remember that picture? That was Hurricane Barry. And if I'm not mistaken, this is Hurricane Barry. So what we use this model, we go in, they give us a track, then they give us a veer left, and they give us a veer right. And that tells us a worst case scenario. We take that worst case scenario and we react to that. This was showing that we were going to have infiltration in that area that I was saying at Meadow Shark. So we were able to go in and flood fight it and prevent that water from getting into this area. This thing has proven itself time and time again. I'm talking to within tenths of inches because we do post-storm surveys as well to see how it reacted to everything. So flood fight, we make decisions on closing gates, on the river, things like that. Typically what we do is we take the highest elevation it's calling for, we add 2 feet, and that's the gates we close. So anything, let's say they're calling for 8 feet on the river, we're gonna close all the gates at elevation 10 and below.
So for the WFO, you are able to use a number of resources to help them look at local impacts.
Yeah, well, this is probably the best data out there.
And you're using that.
Yeah, we would.
Okay. So it's not a like, we only can use certain things. They've got something like they really refine.
Well, I think our biggest thing is we use ensemble modeling, which, but like I said, the levees are not accurate in that model. But we got the levee data from them, and we make adjustments based on what we see.
Yeah. And I gotta tell you honestly, this is really one of the best things that we've seen, because when we were over in Florida, like for Milton, it was a hot mess because the slosh was not keeping up, and the specificity just wasn't there. So people like University of South Florida were really stepping in, and well, they were basically using something similar to really give us something much more specific.
Well, and this is available for the entire country. I mean, they're running these models even for storms that aren't coming to South
No,
Louisiana.
they basically were doing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a good tool. And this is just to kind of show you, this again, Bayou Sally, and this is telling me right here that this is where the water's infiltrating. So that's the area that we need to go and flood fight.
But I will say, like you said earlier, they'll do the left-right track, stuff like that. But the reason we shy away from these single track runs is because we know the forecast is not perfect. Like for instance, Hurricane Laura. The day before, I really thought Lake Charles was going to be flooded. And that's why we evacuated. We left office first time ever. We left office because we thought we were getting flooded. But then within 24 hours, it shifted 25 miles, and that made a world of difference.
And it was the same with Francine. I
Yes,
mean,
you're right.
to the morning of impact,
Yep.
it was Highway 317, and then as it came in, it went to the south and east.
It makes a big
It
difference.
did, it really does, huge difference. Again, this is just a close-up showing the infiltration over by Metal Shark, and again, we use this tool to react, and we don't use one track, we use worst-case scenario.
Right.
So we're always going after that. We're not gonna, we make sure that we're covered in every aspect that we need. And then here, this is just, I wanted to show these. We have gate lists with elevations for Morgan City and Berwick, and this is what we use to communicate with the municipalities on which gates to close. That's the one for Morgan City. And this goes same for river floods as well. This is how we make our decisions on what to close and keep open. And then the last thing, if you can pull up our website, this is something where St. Mary Levee District has a gauge network that we utilize to, it came up?
Yeah.
Click on Bayou Shane. That we use to monitor water levels throughout St. Mary Parish. Was finally able to figure out how to get this to where it was a little more user friendly. Bayou Shane and Bayou Teche both have weather stations on them with wind and rain. One of the things we're lacking in this area is information. We don't know what the wind's doing. We don't have any formal stations that tell us this. The Levee District decided to spend some good money on the same stuff that the National Weather Service uses to make sure we're getting proper data as far as wind and rain goes. So each end of the parish we have that. Here at the EOC I installed one. It's more of a home unit, but it appears to have been doing relatively well. It's a Tempest unit. So that's another location that we have it. But we need to gather true data and not, we have, I'll call it the best home systems weather stations you can get. We have them installed at Teche and Shane, and they're garbage. They do not give you accurate readings. So this stuff is very important we have to learn through these things. Y'all know that every time a storm comes, we learn something new, something else happens. So gathering data is huge with St. Mary Levee District. As you can see up here, the Bayou Chene water levels, that stage, the blue line, is the water on the outside of the structure. The stage 1 is the water on the inside of the structure. So right now we're 0.8 difference between the two. But we're able to monitor water throughout the district to know where it's going, what it's doing, how it's flowing, things like that. This is on our website, St. Mary Levee, smld.org. And if you go to resources and gauges and weather, and it'll show you, in fact, oh good, sorry, click on that. So there's the different gauges. Again, Shane and Tesh both have weather stations. If you go down a little further, it shows the Bayou Chene weather, Bayou Tesh weather, but again, that's with those home systems that don't rely on that. And then you see EOC weather. That's the Tempest system that's been pretty accurate. You can click on that, you can get wind, rain, humidity, everything you could imagine on that.
All right, so Mike, just for my information, so you got 2 weather stations on this?
I have one at Tesh, which is on the west end of the parish, and one on Shane, which
So
is
you
on
say-
the east.
What kind of system is it?
It's a Tempest, I'm sorry, not a Tempest. It is the wind gauge. What's the one y'all use? You tell me it's that one.
Davis?
No, it's the little airplane looking one.
No,
Oh,
Davis
no.
is a manufacturer. It's all right.
But anyway,
And then we have an 8-inch, the 8-inch rain bucket or tipping system.
And this is all publicly available?
Yes, sir.
Are you archiving? You're archiving?
Oh, yeah. Because it's actually tied, it's connected directly to our gauge stations.
Yeah.
So it's all working in concert, and we have access to all that data.
since I know this is there now, this is gonna get used, what is the height of the anemometer?
It's on a 30-foot tower,
Oh,
on
yeah.
a 10-foot
That's
wall.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's a standard.
And the archive data is easily accessible as well? Or is it something we gotta go through you to get?
No, actually, I think you can get to it on that thing. Otherwise, just call me, I can get y'all into it.
Next,
They were just finished installing them 2 months ago, so.
so next wish list, do you have any cameras?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and in fact, I have cameras at Tesh and Shane,
Yeah.
both of those structures. We just put Bayou Chene on a battery backup because, of course, the storm comes, the power goes out, we can't see anything anymore. I believe we can get 80 hours out of the battery setup we have out there. And the big reason for that is because it's not accessible. You know, during the storm, you can't get out there. Bayou Tesh, we can get out there and start the generator if we need to.
Yeah.
Or physically just go to check on things.
Are the cameras gonna be like on this site?
No,
Okay.
those are internal only, but we can.
Not for
work
public
this out.
use.
Yeah, they're not for public, but we can get y'all in.
No, I mean, that, just like you said, the lack of data and the lack of visuals is
Yes.
a big thing that you're addressing.
Well, and we saw that after Francine, because how much rain did we get? They were saying this, they were saying that. You know, we were trying to get an actual reading, and it was tough to do because no one had real data. So we want to have that because it's important. That's all I got. Any questions?
I do have one quick question.
Yes.
So we saw Barry was again on this list for 2025. If that same storm and that same scenario were coming again for Barry, would we have to evacuate as much as we did last time?
St. Mary Levee District doesn't make that decision.
Oh.
Good answer.
Good answer.
As well.
I don't like it. I don't like it this time, but it's a busy storm. But if it was the same scenario, is it a higher levy now? Or we say we're
Oh,
higher?
yeah.
We would
Before
need
we
a
had,
better-
it was a HESCO basket on the side of a
Right.
road to, I don't know, it might have been a +5 elevation. Now that wall ends at a +10.5.
Okay.
So, yes.
So we're ready for Barry this year.
Yes,
We
now,
have
keep
to-
in mind, Bayou Sally area, that's a very vulnerable location. Not many people live down there. We have plans in place. And then west of Sherrington Canal, same thing. Those low-lying areas to the south of 90, we monitor, where we think the water levels are gonna come up with, and then we talk to the parish and the GOSEP and make those decisions.
But we had that with Ida, where we had people in south of Fouche stay because they knew their flood protection levees were gonna stand.
Right.
So they weren't gonna flood. Well, the wind fields were so bad that they had a fire crew couldn't take it any longer because they were getting calls, just desperate. There was a person that actually took refuge in her dryer because the house was gone from the wind fields. So they went and commandeered a school bus in the middle of the storm and rescued 45 people. So, I mean, it's just one of those things, the fact that there's great faith in the fact that the levee system's never been better, period. But you talk about intensification, all of a sudden taking Barry into a super Barry, that's one of the things I think is really
Yeah, because
important.
Barry was what, Cat 1? Minimum.
Cat 1, but we had the all-time high water.
Yes,
Yeah.
we were in the middle of we had a 7.5 river at the same time.
It's not just the water, it's the wind.
Yeah, but if they say evacuate, please evacuate.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, the wind is,
Every Cat 4, every Cat 5 we've had in the last few years was minimal 36 to 48 hours out. So, I mean, it's just one of those things with intensification.
Okay, next we have the Coast Guard, come and do a presentation.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Commander Mary Gilday, and I am the commanding officer of Marine Safety Unit, Morgan City, right downstairs. Been in the Coast Guard going on 23 years, and 13 of my years I've had the privilege of being stationed in Louisiana. So you could say I like hurricanes, but I really don't. On behalf of the captain of the port, Captain Jason Franz, who's out of Marine Safety Unit Homa. While we aren't looking forward to hurricane season 2025, your Coast Guard units in Homa, Morgan City, and Lafayette, because those are the ones that he oversees directly, we're ready for what comes our way, and we will be here to respond. We train year-round for these natural disasters, and for example, for Hurricane Francine, we got our families evacuated early in advance, and with that, then we had a crew here that stayed behind for 5 days in preparation and in response to Hurricane Francine. Last year was a true testament of our outstanding working relationship that we had with Army Corps, the Port of Morgan City, St. Mary Levee District, Mr. Jimmy with GOSEP, GEICA, Mr. Paul Dittman, and Mr. Jones with the parish president. And there were a number of other stakeholders, agency partners, state, local, that we also worked with. I'll tell you, it's not common for you to be able to have on speed dial these local members. And I've worked in other cities before, and you really, you don't have that opportunity. So thank you so much for all of you who we got to work with last year in restoring, especially our focus is restoring the marine transportation system. So I don't want to hold up too much of Lieutenant Janelle Pichet's time, but one thing I will head on with regards to waterway users, please closely monitor those marine safety information bulletins that are published on behalf of the captain of the port, and especially with regards to just knowing when to get off of the waterway. I know it sounds like common sense, but an example from last year, the Bayou Chene floodgate closed we had advance notification, it was no surprise, and we still had I know some laugh because they know, we still had a very large vessel along with a few other vessels that were together and thought that we were going to be able to open the floodgate. While we can, talk about it now, thank goodness no one was injured, but there were over 100 people that did not get to come through that floodgate, and they ended up riding out the storm. Okay, so I share that because, again, common sense. You got a hurricane coming your way. It's not like a tornado where you just have minutes, right? We have advance notice. Please take early precautionary steps and get off the waterway. I can't stress that enough. And it sounds like common sense, but again, that just happened last year. So I'm not going to steal any more of Lieutenant Pichet's thunder. Thank you again. Hopefully, in this case, we don't have to work with each other again for this season, but if we do, we're ready. So, thank you, Lieutenant Pichet.